Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. I'm here with Suzanne Lucas, and we're going to talk about human resources in the social media age. Before we get into that, Suzanne, where can people get hold of you?
I am super easy to find. If you Google Evil HR Lady, I will pop up. But you can also find me at my blog, evilhrlady.org, or on Twitter at Real Evil HR Lady, or I have a Facebook group, which is going to be shocking, is called Evil HR Lady, that you can join. And then, of course, you can email me at evilhrlady@gmail.com.
So you are, I'm guessing from that, the Evil HR Lady.
I better be.
Yes.
Someone's going to be mad.
Yeah. Well, the branding agency did really well. Yeah. So you're an American in Basel in Switzerland.
Yes, that's
right. How did that happen?
My ex-husband's job brought us here for 2 years, 12 years ago.
Right.
So that's how that works.
So how did you become the evil HR lady? And there was did you see that there was a pause there, the evil HR lady?
Well, I did become an HR lady first, and then I turned evil.
Right.
What happened is, way back in the dark ages of 2006, there was this newfangled thing called blogging.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I grew up reading all the advice columnists in the newspapers. Loved them. And I always wanted to be an advice columnist. And so when this blogging thing came up, I was like, I can just start my own advice column. Nobody can stop me.
Here's your chance.
And so I was working for a big pharmaceutical company, and pharma is very, very conservative. At least, yeah, I mean, it still is. It's a very conservative industry. And so I knew I couldn't do it under my own name. So I thought, what do I want to be? And what do people think of when they think of HR?
Evil.
There you go. And so I came up with that name, and I launched a blog, and the rest is history.
So in fact, your Evil HR Lady is a pen name which you were writing incognito.
Yes. I wrote incognito for several years, and then when I quit pharma to move to Switzerland, I went public with my real name.
Right. And you now use it as a brand for your...
Right. Now it's my brand. I have an official business registered in Switzerland as Evil HR Lady, and yeah.
Your accountant must have great fun.
My accountant is very awesome. That is actually true.
Right. Mine is as well. My accountant's fantastic. He has a sense of humor, which is...
But mine does too, and his only problem is he takes his summers off because he is a not canoeing. What's like canoeing?
Kayak.
He's a kayak instructor.
Right.
There you go.
So, HR in the age of social media. I mean, explain. I mean, what's changed?
Well, there's two ways to look at HR in the age of social media. One is, as HR people, now suddenly we've got all these employees that are out doing things. Back in the dark ages, when I started in HR in 1999, if somebody went to a Halloween party dressed up as Hitler, you would never know about it.
Yep.
Ever.
Never.
Ever. Now they're going to put that picture on social media, and someone will send it to you. Okay. You don't have to follow your employees to keep track of the bad things they do on social media.
People just people email it to you then?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Coworkers will turn you in an instant. Don't friend your coworkers. Just don't. They'll turn you in. Mm-hmm. And so there's that aspect of social media, and we in HR talk about that a lot. But I'd like to talk about another aspect of HR and social media, and that is the social media use of HR people. And that's a topic that people don't talk enough about, because our employees, our bosses, our community are watching us. And a lot of times people like to think that we have anonymity. on social media, and you don't. Even if you are going under an assumed name, you need to be able to stand behind everything that you say.
And even if you're posting in your personal capability on Facebook,
right?
If I post something on Facebook, people can see it.
Yeah. And I mean, you can have your security settings or whatever, and a lot of social media policies will say, don't wear company branded clothing, don't mention the company you work for or whatever. But I post something as Suzanne Lucas. I don't make any mention to where I work. This is all pretend, because of course my social media is filled with evil HR lady, but we'll just pretend. You run across it. You're one of my employees. I'm your HR lady. You're an employee. And I'm writing, everybody that voted for this candidate is pond scum. You voted for this candidate.
You said that you saw someone post something that said in an open forum, and they said, I can't believe, was it something I can't believe I'm so stupid or something?
Yes, there was a person who posted in an open HR group on Facebook. So, I can't, some days I feel like I don't know anything about my job. I don't know what I'm doing. And then she ended like hashtag LOL, love my job. Right. She thinks she's being funny. And
it's a bit like the Burger King International Women's Day tweet this year, where they said women should places to be in the kitchen, and yes. It's just like, there's a thin line between being clever and stupid.
There's a thin line between being clever and stupid. And the thing is with her, as long as nobody within her business sees that, and it's just other HR people, sure, that's, we all feel that somewhere. Like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for 20 years and now I have this problem. I never thought this problem would show up. That happens, absolutely. But the forum is open. And so anybody could see it. Anybody could share it. A lot of times when
anybody can take a screenshot of it.
Anyone can take a screenshot. A lot of times when you post in something that's open, Facebook, part of its algorithm, will throw it into your friend's feed and be like, Suzanne posted in, commented on this. Your boss sees that. The employees that you provide counsel and advice to see that. You saying, I don't know what I'm doing. That's really a bad thing for you and your reputation, and for the reputation of the profession. And that's something that people kind of feel like there's one overarching HR department in the whole world, like we all get together. And so no one ever says my HR person is so dumb. They say HR is dumb.
But it's also what you said about the candidate. If you sit there and say this candidate is good and this candidate is bad, on the basis that 50% of people vote for either one, you've just alienated 50% of the people who work for you.
Absolutely. And I've called some HR people out on that, and I've gotten the response of, oh, no, everybody at this office supports my candidate. And I'm like, no, they don't. They're keeping their mouths shut because you're so vocal. And you may say, well, good, those people on the other side are horrible, evil, whatever. They should keep their mouth shut. But they're going to keep their mouth shut when they should open it, because they know that they can't trust you.
And HR need to be in a position where, in effect, you want people to come to you. You're feeling suicidal. You're feeling the stress of lockdowns or something like that. And if anyone is a department that you should be able to go and speak to, it should be HR.
Yes. And from a company protection standpoint also, let's say you're being sexually harassed.
Yeah.
You need to go report that. You're putting the company, HR is putting the company at higher liability by making a negative space for people that are afraid to come to you. And especially, one of the things that I often hear within the United States is people will say, oh, well, that person is protected because they're in a protected class. You can't fire this person because they're protected class. You can fire a white male. That's absolutely false. Everybody is in a protected class. You can't fire anybody because of their race.
Yeah.
But you have some HR people out there speaking very loudly about the evils of straight white males. And I'm like, you're still going to lose that lawsuit when you fire someone. And maybe you're firing this straight white male because he was a poor performer, but they're going to be able to, in trial, pull out all of your tweets.
Yeah.
That's not going to go over well with the jury.
No,
it's not. And there's a bigger obligation on HR to always act as if they're representing the company because of those things.
Yes. There used to be a rule at my school. We had a school uniform.
Yeah.
And there was what used to happen was that people wearing school uniform used to go shoplifting, so stealing from a particular shop.
Oh dear.
And so originally what would happen is that the rule was, as soon as you went out of the school gate, you no longer represented the school. And what the shopkeepers argued and won was the fact that if you're wearing school uniform, you're still representing the school.
Absolutely.
And so you may not be in the school gates. You could have gone in a car and driven 200 miles, but because you've got that school uniform, you're still representing. And I still think that's the case with HR. In effect, they have to, if they have to live the purpose and the culture and the all of the in effect the rules that have been put in place.
Yeah, and it is a higher burden than other employees. I mean, it makes your low-level HR person equal to your CEO in how you need to be in public. If the grocery store cashier goes to the bar and gets drunk, no one cares, right? As long as they don't get arrested, who cares? Yeah. The HR person does that. The CEO does that. It's gonna be an issue, and people are going to look and say, gosh, are you responsible? Should I take your advice? Blah, blah, blah. And maybe it's unfair. Maybe it's an unfair burden to place on HR. Maybe we should be able to be like, I'm off work, so I can do what I want. But because so much of our job is based on trust, we have to be trustworthy 100% of the time.
So one of the things that I came across quite early in social was the insistence of lawyers to put in your social media profile that it was the thoughts are my own, or I'm not speaking for the company or something. I mean, I'm putting that in your bio. I mean, what do you think to that?
I think that's nice, but it doesn't mean anything because, again, we're not talking in legalities here. We're talking about trust. And so, again, I put on my thing, all these opinions are my own. It doesn't represent my company. And then I write, right now, vaccines are a big topic, right? Yeah. So then I write, Bill Gates is injecting a chip into you when you get your vaccine, right? I say that. And just so anybody listening knows, I don't actually believe that.
Just so everybody knows, yes, Suzanne doesn't believe that. Okay, we're just role playing. Okay, so
that's right. We're just role playing. And actually, even if he was injecting a chip, I'd still really like the vaccine. But anyway, I'm not eligible yet here. But
I got the first one yesterday.
You did? Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah,
Switzerland.
I'll tell it to you.
So thank you. Switzerland is so far behind. But anyway, I write this, right? And I'm like writing how crazy I am about the chips. I should be able to have that opinion. I'm of the belief of you can have any opinion that you want.
Absolutely.
Now I come to the office and we're going to implement, this company is implementing a program to encourage people to get vaccines.
Yes.
And they're going to pull up, hey, look, Suzanne says Bill Gates is injecting us with a microchip. And how am I supposed to then represent the company and be like, well, yes, that's true, but you should get it. It's not a problem if I think that on my own. Go ahead and think what you want. I don't care. But when you're working for a company and you're in this position of trust, you're in this position of policy making, you really need to be careful that you're not undermining yourself with your social media.
Yes.
And that can be a real big issue.
I mean, my view has always been a bit like the school uniform one, which was when I was working for a US corporation, I was very careful about what I tweeted on social media because of the fact that I knew that people could, I knew that I found out that people were watching.
Absolutely.
So everything that I did was in line with the policy. Even I actually didn't tweet between office hours,
right?
Because so that people didn't actually go, he's tweeting during, even though you could schedule stuff. I was told that people who could be watching didn't understand what scheduling meant. Absolutely. So I made sure I didn't tweet between 9 and 5:30. I only did it in my own time.
Absolutely. And these are things that it may be stupid. Yeah, I can schedule it. I, use Hootsuite or whatever, and I schedule my tweets. But there's that appearance. A few years ago, I gave a TEDx talk about talent within the HR sphere. And afterwards, several people came up to me and said, I work in HR and they named one of the big pharma companies in the area, which is my background as well. And they're like, I absolutely believe what you said, and I can't say the same thing. And it's not just because of an impressive pharmaceutical environment. It's because that's reality. I was telling them the opposite of what their company policy is.
Yes, I've worked with in social media with life science organizations, and they're terrified of because they're regulated.
Yes, they're regulated all to heck. I mean, I used to have an employee who, no kidding, 90% of her job was creating organizational charts, because the rules are that the FDA could show up, the Federal Drug Administration could show up at any time, and we had to be able to present on the spot accurate organizational charts.
Wow.
Now, of course, with the advance in HR systems, they do that automatically.
Yes.
You press a button. But this was, in the early 2000s, and that was her job. I mean, that's the regulation level of the pharma industry. And that was just on the HR side. I mean, I don't know squat about the regulation on the drug side. There's all of these concerns, and they had to be more aware of that. I work for myself. I have my own company. But I also have clients. If I go out and say something that's offensive to my client, that's the end of me. And that's their right to do. It's just really important for the positions of trust that we're in, and that when we talk about diversity and inclusion, as soon as you're on social media spouting political views, which I'm fine with the political view itself, like, I voted Joe Biden, I voted for Brexit, both those things I think are fine. It's when you say people who didn't vote for Joe Biden are racist. People who didn't vote for Brexit are, I don't know, what do you say if people didn't vote for Brexit?
Usually the view here in the UK is if you voted for Brexit, you're racist.
Right. But what was the view for the people who voted against?
I can't.
Anyway, there's something.
I don't remember, actually. It was such a long time ago.
I don't keep up with Brexit because I am not in the UK. But there's something bad. That's the difference. Saying I voted for this, I don't have any problem with that. But the HR person needs to be able to say to anybody coming into his or her office, I don't care who you voted for. Yeah. Here at this company, we treat everybody equally, and we care about your behavior at work.
And we have a duty of care to look after you as well.
Absolutely.
So if there's something wrong, you need to be able to go to your HR team and say, if you're being, if you want to be in the office because your home life involves violence, you need to be able to go to somebody within your organization and tell them that.
Absolutely. And, a lot of companies have things set up for you, but you have to be able to go.
Yes.
And you're not going to go if you can't trust.
Yes. You've talked about HR are the adult in the room.
Yes. HR has to be the adult in the room. And this is kind of when we're talking about humor, for instance,
Yep.
My sense of humor with my family is going to be slightly different than what I will laugh and joke about online.
Yes.
Not that my sense of humor is bad. I am evil, but
well, you call yourself the evil HR lady.
Evil HR lady. That was a dumb idea. I should have called myself the holy HR lady.
Yeah.
But I don't want anybody to take anything the wrong way, and that's the other thing with social media. I had an incident where I wrote an article where I quoted someone's tweet.
Yep.
And it was a very nice tweet. There was nothing outrageous or controversial about it. I don't know why she got her knickers in a twist, but she did. And she said to me, "You can't quote me. You can't do that." And I said, "Well, according to the terms and services of Twitter, I can, as long as I, am linking the original. That's part of the deal with Twitter." And she said, "This was a private conversation among friends. You had no right to spy on it." And I was like, it's not a private conversation between friends. But she felt like it was a private conversation among friends.
And that's one of the things, the problems quite often with social media, even when you're direct messaging, DM people. Yes. The amount of times I've had someone cut and paste to DM and send it to me, and it was like, well, you could be cutting and pasting my DMs. So, you have to be careful what you say. It's a public environment.
It's public environment. And there's part of that I really, really hate, because we used to have private conversations, and now we do so much in written form. And it was interesting watching Clubhouse come out.
Oh, yes.
And some people were freaking out because there's no documentation of what's said on it.
Yeah.
Like, well, that used to be how it was. We used to go to meetings or whatever, and nobody was videotaping it. You had to really be someone for someone to sneak in a recording,
Yeah.
But now we're just so used to having documentation, and with everybody working at home, we do a lot of business transactions via Slack, via email, via Instant Messenger. Everything we do is recorded and documented. And so if I make a joke with a friend that I've had for 20 years, for instance, I make a religion joke about people that are members of my own church, right? To another friend who's a member of the same church. We think it's funny. It's innocuous. That gets out. People don't know that that's my church. They don't know that my friend that I made it to is the same church. Suddenly I'm horrible against all Christians. It's like, well, no, actually, I'm not. I don't like that. I like having private spheres, but anytime you do anything online, you have to assume it's going to go 100% public.
Yeah.
Private group, lockdown group. If you can't stand behind it, if you are not willing to go to your CEO and say, "Yeah, I wrote that," don't write it, especially if you're in HR. Especially if you're in HR.
Yeah. Suzanne, that's been fantastic. Thank you so much for your discussion.
Anytime.
To be able to interview the evil HR lady has been anybody that brands themselves as an evil HR lady has to, I respect you.
Well, you have to, because I'll use my powers against you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't need to tell, I don't need to ask you to remind people where they're getting hold of it. It's the evil HR lady, and she's that all over social.
I'm all over.
And if you can't find the evil HR lady, I'm sorry, you're not trying hard enough.
That's correct.
Suzanne, thank you so much for today. It's been it's been a great, sobering discussion about the importance of social media and doing it in the right way.
Well, thank you for having me. I think it's an important message for HR people to remember.
Yeah, thank you so much. And have a good day. Thanks, Suzanne.